guys. All right, first live of 2021. Let's see if anyone is going to join in. I know it takes a few minutes, but I'm not going to waste any time, so let's get down to it. So I leave so much time in between these lives that I don't even know where to pick up on, but it's basically always the same thing, and I'm always taking questions, and there's always a little bit something that I want to kind of open with. And from then on, it's up to you guys if you have any questions or any comments, any experiences you want to share. So we actually just finished watching Soul today, Disney's Soul, so we can go a little bit about that. I don't know if any of you have watched it yet. A lot of people are saying it's, very reflective of like Abraham Hicks' work, for example, or a lot of the law of attraction stuff. So we'll talk about a little bit about that if you want. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat below, and I'm happy to answer them. There are no small questions, so hey Tony. Good, I'm good. How are you guys? How are you, Tony? What's up? Since last time. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so there's something that I just that stuck in my mind today a lot, and it was from Florence Scovel Shinn, and she said, when man can wish without worrying, every desire will be instantly fulfilled. And that's really the point that so many of us like really want to get to with the things that we really, really want. And it's one of those catch-22 things, because as we know, when we want something a lot, we tend to make a fuss about it, and start worrying about it right away, because the immediate thought after we want this is, but is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? Can I have it? What if it doesn't happen? And so basically, if you cut that part out, there's no room for error. There's really nothing in between you and the version of you who's asking for it and the version of you who's receiving it. It's really pretty simple and streamlined. It's when we get into the habit of, or start to incorporate that immediate response of worry of, but this is what I want, but is it possible? This is what I want, but how's it going to happen? This is what I want, but should I tone it down in order to actually get what I want? Because this is what I really want, this big thing, but maybe if I shoot for the lower, then I'll get that, so I'll shoot for the less. And that's what Neville calls taking from the Word of God, or basically, because the Word of God is your desire, right? The dreamer in you is God. So if you have a desire, that's exactly what you should be wanting. Don't put limits on what you want just because you think that that's not attainable, so let me reach for a little lower. You don't want to do that. There's a reason we want what we want, and that's what our end goal should be. And when there isn't that factor of worry or wondering, then there really isn't any, there's no gap in time, there's no noticeable waiting period. And so that's what really Florence Scovel Shinn was getting at when she said, when man can wish without worrying, every desire will be instantly fulfilled. That's also why so many people say, hey, how come the things I don't really care about that much, they happen right away, and the things that I want and actually put more focus on, they take longer. It's because when you're putting focus on it, what are you allowing to happen? Where are you vibrating with that when you're focused on it? Because a lot of times we think we're focused on having the thing and experiencing the thing, but what we're actually focused on is the worry of the, I better be doing this, I better be focused on it, because if I'm not focused on it, then it might not happen. So when Neville's and everyone says it's simple, it is simple, but it's simple when you, so it's simple when you let it be simple, And that means going immediately from knowing what you want, and when you know what you want, you're in asking mode. And then, or the state of asking, and then once you know what you want, just move straight into receiving mode, which is what Neville calls the state of the wish fulfilled. Immediately, as soon as you recognize what you want, what your desire is, move into the state, and give thanks for it. That's why it's asking to just give it. It's given before you even know you want it, because if that possibility didn't exist, then you wouldn't tap into it. Like, the desire wouldn't be given to you. So that's pretty much what we're talking about here. Let me see if you have any questions. Okay, no questions so far. Yeah, feel free to ask me questions at any point. I can go on and on, but if you have any questions, feel free. Okay, am I saying your name right? Amal? I feel like maybe I've seen you here before, but is it Amal? Amal? How to make sure I'm living in the end? By how you feel. It's by how you feel. So play around with your feeling state and let it be playful. Like, let it be light. Because think of yourself as, well, sometimes we say clay, so you can be easily moldable and malleable. Because if we're kind of tense and we're very serious about this process, then we're like hardened clay, and we can't really mold our energy that way. Or you can see it as water. Like, you want to feel as a fluid as water in this process, so that you can test different states. So feeling is emotion or knowing? Okay, so emotion, that's a really good question, and something a lot of people, wonder. So this is how I explain it. Emotion and feeling are not the exact same thing. Feeling can involve many emotions at one time, and emotion is more like a specific, maybe, emotions have more specific titles. Like, as human beings, we give titles to happy, excited, joyous, thrilled, sad, confused, frustrated. Those are specific, I would say, emotions, but a feeling state is more broad. And in one moment, you can feel excited and at ease, because though they seem to contradict, you can feel buzzed about something and feel alive, and yet still feel at ease because it's flowing a certain way. So, and I can't say that it's not knowing either, because the knowing is what brings the feeling state of naturalness, and you want to involve that as well. Hey Shazad, let me see. So I can just make sure I'm getting everything. Yeah, embrace the feeling with spiritual sensation, like Tony's saying. You want to enter it, like how Neville says, enter a state, like you enter a room. And that room has many different aspects to it. And all those aspects you can see as emotions. So when you're in, let's say, a metaphorical room, that is your feeling state, when you're entering it, think about the things in that room that represent your desired end. So let's see, if you want to have a certain experience, and you go into the room that is the feeling state, the metaphorical room that is your feeling state of already having it and living in that end, what is in that room? What are the emotions that you're feeling when you're in that state? Are you you feel like achievement? Maybe it's some kind of achievement you feel. Respect. Maybe you feel respected. Maybe you feel just gratification. Maybe you feel soothed. Maybe you want to feel soothed. So all those things, and there's an infinite amount of things you can be feeling, and the more you kind of linger in that state, look for it, the more the idea of the different emotions will come to you in that state, and it will become more and more vivid, and it'll become more clear which things, which emotions you want to involve in your feeling state. And since we're talking about a room and we're using the metaphor of a room as your feeling for your feeling state, go ahead and see the things that you would see in the end. If what your desires a specific house you want to move into, then see yourself surrounded by the things that you would be surrounded by. Do you want a beautiful view? Then you might as well use that metaphor of the room to look out from there, and from the perspective of being up, on the mountain, I would say, or seeing the city through your window. It's just the possibilities are endless, and it really is fun, and you want to hold on to that fun aspect and use that to your advantage. Ocean Epics. How do I not be enslaved by my senses? Keeping to the wish fulfilled when natural might be conflicting. It is conflicting because you're in one state where you're asking for what you want and you're recognizing that you don't have it, and then you're practicing the state of already having it and not needing it anymore. Not needing it as in it's not missing anymore. So it's complete contradiction, and that is a matter of, this is what I think the most important part of that is, how to close your eyes, your physical senses, to what's already manifested in front of you. Hey Jackson. So acknowledge, remind yourself, okay, that what your senses are seeing, number one, are fleeting. It's temporary, and what it is a reflection of the actual reality, which is your imagination. So as solid and real as everything looks, whether it's a physical thing you're looking at, or an experience that you're in the middle of having, you're in the middle of a certain situation or circumstance, it seems very solid because you're experiencing it on physical levels. But when you remind yourself again that, well, I experienced all this and I'm in this situation because of things that were previously not visible, then you remember that, okay, so if that's how I got here, then that's also how I'm going to get to where I want to be. And that is by, knowing that where you're living in your imagination, what's going to happen next is not based on purely on what you're looking at. You can choose to create a cycle, which is what you'll do if you keep creating from what you're looking at, because you'll say, but this is how it is, but this is how it is, but this is how it is, and then so you keep creating that same cycle, and that's how people start to feel stuck, because you just feel like you're not going anywhere, nothing's changing. But that's not what's happening. You're creating over and over again, but you're just creating the same thing you're seeing because you're focused on what you're seeing. But if you focus on what you're seeing in your mind, which is the primal cause, which is what everything's actually coming from, that's where you're receiving and creating from, then that's what you do. So you have to realize, and it's not even realize, just remind yourself, because we forget. It doesn't matter how well we know this. Everything, we're having such a physical experience that we forget that this is the reflection, this is the illusion. What's real is what we are receiving in our imagination. So just assign more importance to that, and you have to practice it. There doesn't come a point where you fully accept that and then you'll never have to worry about that again. No, because this is a game, everything desire that you have is a new adventure, it's a new experience, and you're going to remind yourself again that, okay, what I'm seeing is one thing and what I want is something else. So I'm going to practice that's now what I'm seeing. I'm all saying, what is state and awareness, which Neville talks about often. How long do I stay in that state? Stay in awareness. You stay in it as long as until it feels natural to you. Once it feels natural to you, then you'll already feel that there's no need to really revisit it, and you might feel like that's losing interest, but the reason you lose interest in the process or the technique is because your subconscious mind has already accepted that it's a done deal, so you won't be drawn to do it anymore. Jackson saying, I've had things manifested in details as to what the circumstances were in the imaginal scene, but not emotionally yet. Am I on the bridge of incidents? Yeah, just so Jackson, involve your you're saying, I mean, I've created an imaginal scene and the scene has happened on more than one occasion. SP cooking. Yeah, but okay, so this is not uncommon at all. This happens normally that we visualize something and we do in our mind's eye, and then we end up seeing it with our physical eyes, but it doesn't feel the way we wanted it to feel, and that's why it's always the feeling. Feeling is the only thing that matters. So if you can visualize it, make sure that you are feeling the way you want to feel when it's happening. Because if you visualize it and you don't tie the feelings to it, the feeling state to it, then you're kind of letting that hang, and you're encouraging that visual experience to happen to you, that physical experience to happen to you, but emotionally it's not going to be satisfying. It's not going to be satisfying, and it might be that relationship wise, okay, you want your special person to cook a meal for you, and it might end up happening that they cooked a meal for you, but you weren't in a relationship, and you wanted them to cook a meal for you because you're in a relationship already. So but not expressing desire to be, yeah, exactly, that's what I thought you meant. So yep. So how do I improve that? Just incorporate the feeling state. Like, the feeling state is really that's the I want to say the boss, but I mean it's not that's the boss of you. It's the point from which all things will be attracted. So, because the feeling state is the frequency, okay? That's the level on which you want to stay, so that the things on that level will be attracted to you, or you'll be attracted to it. And I know some people who are Neville fans don't really like to use or hear the word attraction, because they think, oh, we don't attract things because everything's already created, right? But what you're attracting is the alignment of the experience. So don't see it as you're bringing it to you or you're going to it. It's just the attraction word is in terms of vibration, and Neville, yes, did mention vibration, so that's not like a separate thing. But yeah, so what you want to do is really focus on the feeling state. Forget the details. If I were allowed to forget the details, because at this point you have put in enough details with even not knowingly doing it. All the details that you want to happen are already out there. It's already known. So you really want to just enter a feeling state that captures the essence of all the emotions that you want to feel when you know that you're with this person in a relationship. How does it feel now that you've had this person cook a meal for you? Let's say you know what it's like for them to cook a meal for you. You know how that feels. Now, how does it feel for them to cook a meal for you knowing that you're in a relationship together? See, those are technically the same experience from the outside, but once you enter those states, they feel very different, because one leaves something to be desired and the other one is very fulfilling. So how does it feel to be in that fulfilling experience, and to really feel the satisfaction of knowing that your heart is full, and you are both, openly understanding each other and enjoying each other's company in the same way. Bluebird, hey, I discovered that if you don't know how your desire feels like, you can put the intention to know, messages go away so quickly before I can read them. So I discovered that if you don't know how your desire feels, you can put the intention to know how it feels like. Yes, exactly. For example, I wonder how this desire feels like. Yeah, definitely. So that's what I equate with when Abraham Hicks says, um, reach for the feeling. It's really just about being open to the feeling. And I think the problem, you could say, with not getting to the feeling, not being able to reach the feeling, is because we're trying to reach the feeling. And I know it sounds like odd, but if you search for the feeling, as in like you're hunting for it and you're desperate for it, or even not desperate, but you're on the lookout for it, you're not opening that channel to receive that feeling. But if you're just like gently open to the concept, and you're just, um, you say, hey, I'd like to know what this feels like, and then just like stop for a second and let something happen through you. Um, Sometimes we have to shut up in our own minds. I hope you guys can hear me okay, because I'm trying to be a little quiet. It's late, but yeah. So sometimes we have to shut up in our own minds and just let something come through, because we're so like constant analyzing, and even the worry is loud because it stops um, the communication, with our God self, I guess you can call it, with source. It really does block that communication, um, whether we're overthinking, overanalyzing, worrying, tense, too eager, about something. um, then just just ask for it and be open for it, and just happen the first time, it'll probably happen the second time. If it doesn't happen, then you're trying too hard. Okay, thanks, Jackson. Sounds perfect. Okay. um Shrawan, hi. What is the most spiritual experience I've had? So this most spiritual experience, I guess it depends on what you define as spiritual experience. Um, if you mean like a connection with the spirit world, I guess, as you would call it, that would be one answer that I have in my mind. If you say just overall, like, interaction as a spiritual being in this physical, having a physical experience and seeing the manifestation of that, that would be another thing. So with the first one, I don't like share the story too much, but so when I was a teenager, I had this kind of like moment where I don't know what brought it on, but like I became very aware for just a moment, um, of being physical, and it was weird. It was strange because when you're very focused in the physical, as a physical manifestation, um, you're not aware of being physical because it's just who you are. But in that moment, I felt very aware of me and me being physical. So I guess that would be the answer for if it's the first part. For the second part, just manifesting my relationship, honestly, was the most. Not that other things, like other meaningful things, haven't happened like spiritually for me. They have, but just the everything coming together in a way that I consciously, um, consciously felt before it actually happened. That's something that still really sticks with me. So thanks for asking that. My favorite Neville lecture book. I usually say that my favorite Neville book is The Power of Awareness. But honestly, the it depends on what book I'm reading in the moment. Because the book I'm reading in the moment, like, honestly, you guys probably know this. The one you're reading at that moment becomes your favorite because it's so. Feel like there's so much truth in it, and you feel like, no, this is the one where he explains himself the best. He explains the nature of reality the best. But I do say The Power of Awareness usually as the most basic favorite and most practical in a way. because it it does incorporate the word like God and somewhat religious references that some people, even though Neville wasn't religious, we know that, but someone who ties those words to religion might have trouble reading that, because they're thinking, okay, the word God is here, so I'm not interested anymore. I just want the universe, or that kind of terminology. Except for the word God being brought up in some Bible verses, it's generally really basic and practical for even a newcomer to this stuff to really understand. So I think that a second favorite is your fate is your fortune. So thank you. So in At Your Command, Neville describes an out-of-body experience. Do you agree? What is your take? Yeah, I think out-of-body experiences happen a lot more often than we think. We just don't define them as that. I think that it's not always a very impactful moment. I think sometimes there are brief moments where that happens, where we kind of reason it away. And when it comes to the detailed stories that Neville tells about out-of-body experiences, I think that once you're open to it, it becomes just like a regular experience. And it depends on if you're manifesting something on this plane or another, and that's way too complicated to get into right now, but I don't think it's important. I don't think it's very important in the overall scheme of things. That's why I don't even research too deep into that, because it doesn't matter. I mean, when you want to experience something, just feel that you are the deciding factor in what you're experiencing in this reality, and anything else is just a bonus. And honestly, out-of-body experiences, sometimes they feel like dream manifestations, I think. So that might be similar to what Neville explains them as also. Which one am I currently reading? I have three books that I can't even say I'm currently reading, but I'm in the middle of them, and neither of them are getting my attention right now, honestly. And I just received so many books, and I haven't read them. A lot of them are, obviously I've read them before, but I didn't own my own copies, so I ordered them and to read it in paper version, like solid version, and I haven't read them yet. But I tend to reread books over and over again, because obviously it's something that I talk to people about often, so I'm always reading the same things over and over again. And there's so much to read, even this small niche, that it becomes a little overwhelming to set a goal, which is what I like to do. But yeah, I end up just going with whatever I feel. And right now I'm in the middle of three that are related to work, and like 2 that are not. I'm in the middle of, but are not getting my attention. Let's see. If I'm not able to feel the end result, I'm only living in the end of knowing an assumption. In this case, manifestation will work or not. If I'm not able to feel end result, okay, the end result is living in the end. So if I'm only living in the end of knowing an assumption, yeah, that's pretty much the same thing. If you have any questions about the differences between those two, or the differences that you feel between those two, then please specify it. But other than that, experiencing the wish fulfilled and living in the end, those are the same thing. Pretty much. There's no specific difference as I see it. Okay, I think I know what you mean. I just realized it. So you're not able to feel it feelingly, but you're assuming that it's done. So if you're assuming it's done, you can achieve a feeling of naturalness for it. So, and that's really the point of assuming that it's done. The knowing and the assumption, like the law of assumption, in that sense, you're assuming it to be done in order to achieve that feeling of naturalness for it. So, it's not possible for your feelings to not be changed by knowing. Um, the whole point of knowing is to change your feeling state, and it will change even if you don't notice it's changing. It'll be more in hindsight once you have changed your state, then you'll be able to look back and think, okay, I did feel more differently about it, and now I feel more at ease about it. You don't have to involve like major emotion, like dramatic emotions into it. It's really ultimately about achieving the feeling of naturalness of your desire. Thanks, Jackson. Yeah, sorry. I think all over the place, and that's always how it comes out. And if it helps, I'm glad. If it doesn't, then I'm always happy to clarify if you guys need more clarification on certain things. Sure. Thank you, Amal. So, okay, Shahzad asked what book am I currently reading? So, since I kind of went through that really quick, I'm trying to think which books are they? Oh my god. Sorry, I was looking to see if I should go get them. But, okay, so one is the Life's Healing Law. So that's one of the really old books I had ordered. I like to read the really old books. There's something about reading a book that was published, a long time ago, because those are words that have made it until now. And when it's teachings of the nature of reality, the laws of nature, then there's something really interesting that happens when you realize that the people who wrote these books a long time ago were having a physical experience just like we are. It's just there's a connection there, and it makes me feel more like it's not about what's trendy. It's not about The Secret came out, so the movie The Secret came out, so now everyone is on some level, not everyone, but a lot of people are on some level of awareness about these things. And not that I have anything against The Secret. I think that's great. That's how I kind of really started my research on these things. And yeah, just I really like the old books and reading the works of old teachers, because it's important to not only read what's current. So, you guys have any other questions? Let's see. So, I wanted to actually talk about this. I'm glad there was a pause, because I have to mention. So I was watching with my kids. We were watching Soul, Disney's Soul. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Most of you probably have. It's on Disney Plus, and it was a good movie. And honestly, I think I wouldn't be surprised if the writer. I don't know who the writer is. Let me look it up real quick. Disney Soul writer. Thanks for waiting. I'm just looking it up. Mike Jones, on his winding path from film journalism to Pixar. So I'm gonna, now that I know his name, I'll learn more about him. But it wouldn't be surprising at all, honestly, if he is familiar with Abraham's work, or or Neville's work. If you guys have seen my interview with John, who he's the guy who met Neville when he was very young. So he, put together over the years, he came to the conclusion, obviously, that there are a lot of filmmakers who were familiar with Neville's work, and you can see that in the final result. And a lot of people in Hollywood did go see Neville speak. A lot of them knew who he was and were familiar with his work. Is there a record of it still now? Not so much, which is kind of weird, but he was kind of a well-known guy in the Hollywood circles back then. Yeah. Let's see. Any questions? So, yeah, so if you're gonna watch Soul, I'm not gonna ruin it for you or anything like that, but there are many aspects that are really in line with what we, understand to be the nature of reality. It's kind of about your purpose and about, tapping into what brings you joy, and about, are they the same thing, so there you go. I don't want to say any more with, because I'll ruin the movie, but there's a lot in there. And someone mentioned in one of the Abraham groups that it was funny that the character or characters who play God or source energy, or actually they're the ones who run the before world, or whatever they call it. They all have the name Jerry, which is kind of funny because, as you guys might know if you follow Abraham's work, that Esther's husband's name was Jerry, so that was like a little hint that that it might not be a coincidence. But that's about it. If you guys don't have any more questions, I'm gonna wrap it up. Let's see. If you have any questions, feel free to fit in right now, because probably gonna go. If you have any ideas for videos you want me to make, let me know. I don't know how many of you are actually interested in hearing chapters from the books that I've unboxed in previous videos. There are so many, and any story about Neville. I don't know, I mean, like, I didn't meet him personally, obviously, but I think that the things with Neville is to remember that he did not want to be remembered as like this guru or somebody who had any special really knowledge that we ourselves couldn't use or put to use. He was very clear about that to not, he said, I want no church, no ism, just to just tell you who you are. And it's kind of fun. And another story that I always remember is when John, who I was interviewing that day, how he said that his mom had told him that he would not be afraid to, defend or use physical force for something when there was somebody who was beating up a homeless guy outside his lecture, and he kind of knocked down the guy who was beating him up, and he invited the homeless guy into his lecture, for free. So, just, we forget that the people that we learn from, teachings that we're learning from, are not any higher than we are. They were having a physical experience just like we are, and just because they were maybe more eloquent in speaking about it, or were more tapped into it, because that's just what they were aligned with, that's what they were drawn to doing, doesn't mean that we can't access the same knowledge, because we all know it on some level. It's just a matter of, we're being reminded, and we have the same imaginal control even when we think we don't. There's nothing about Neville, even though he was a dancer, yes, he had training in controlling his mind or controlling his state of relaxation, but that's obviously he learned that at some point. He knew that because he was a dancer, but he had to learn it when he became a dancer. So just that's the type of story I think of when I think of Neville. All right, thank you guys. I'm going to wrap up, and I will see you guys hopefully soon. Bye.